When the season first started, I put out a Glacial Augment video that was received with mixed reviews. Some of you loved it, some of you hated it, but regardless of what you felt about it, many people had to tell me what they thought was missing from the list. And I'll own up, there were some supports missing from the list, and so I took all of your suggestions, researched them, and cross-referenced them with their win rate and who's playing them in Master Tier Plus, and put together a new list of 6 more supports that are better with Glacial Augment. Just like the last list, we're going to start at number 6 with kind of effective, all the way up to number 1, which is very effective. So let's just hop into it. Coming in at number 6 is Shaco support. Shaco supports typically bring comment if they're building AP, but bringing Glacial instead offers some additional utility that he wouldn't normally have. For one, while Shaco's boxes are pretty good at being a disengaged tool, having Glacial Augment paired with them make them even more of a nuisance to try to chase someone down with. Once you get some AP and an enemy stumbles into a box, they can be susceptible to that little area of effect that your turrets have for much longer. And on top of all of that, typically a Shaco with Glacial Augment is always going to end up buying an Everfrost, which is pretty OP if you're able to Everfrost engage on someone when you're completely invisible, or set up a box combo where you Everfrost, box, and then fear them to where they can't move for up to 2.5 seconds. The reason he's so far down the list is because Comet is still very effective with Shaco support, so Glacial Augment isn't a necessity to bring, it's actually more of a choice whatever your playstyle fits. For your build, you'll start with the Spell Thief's Edge, and then immediately start building your Everfrost while along the way building Boots of Lucidity. From there, your next core item should typically be Azonia's Hourglass. For your flex items, depending on the game, you can either get a Morellonomicon, Shadow Flame, or maybe even a Void Staff. If the game goes long or you need some more oomph in your build, you can buy an Elixir of Sorcery, and throughout the whole game, like a good support does, you should be buying Control Wards and maybe a Ward Stone if the game goes very late. And finally, here are the runes you should run and also the skill order you should go. Nico, when her snare is at level 1, has one of the longest CCs in the game if it goes through minions and then ends up hitting someone. So Glacial Augment, since it scales with the duration of CC, feels like a no-brainer on her. If you watch the first video, it's almost similar to how when Morgana brings Glacial Augment, your enemy is slowed for forever. Beyond that, having Glacial Trails on the floor makes it easier for her to also land her ultimate. And of course, since her ultimate is also hard CC, it itself can also proc Glacial Augment. You may think Nico needs a damage keystone, but we've already done a video in the past when Predator was great, when Dog Lightning used to bring that into solo queue and made it all the way to Challenger. So Glacial Augment isn't too far out of that realm. All I need to say is that Dog Lightning does bring Glacial in some matchups, so while again it is good on her, it is a choice, so she doesn't find her way at the top of the list. For your build, you'll start your game with the Spell Thief's Edge. From there, you'll rush your level 2 boots, getting whatever boot really fits your situation, but most commonly either getting Sorc Shoes or Boots of Lucidity. From there, you'll rush your mythic item, getting Hextech Rocket Belt. Just like Shaco, your next core item should be Zonia's Hourglass. For your 5th item, you should look to the enemy team, either getting a Morellonomicon if they have a lot of healing, Banshee's Veil if they have some abilities that can catch you, or Void Staff if you just need raw damage. If the game goes long or you need some more oomph in your build, you can buy an Elixir of Sorcery, and throughout the whole game, you should be buying Control Wards and maybe a Ward Stone if the game goes very late. And quickly either pause the video or take a picture, because here are the runes you should be running and the skill order you should be going. Taric, in his own right and in the right hands, can be an absolute animal, but unfortunately his main keystone that most players bring is Guardian. And while I know there are some Guardian supporters out there, I personally just think the rune is not that good. Glacial opens up a whole new way to play Taric and will pair very well with his short CC that is his E that of course you max first. With the slow field on the floor from Glacial Augment, Taric can easily get more uses out of his passive as well, easily bonking people with his hammer and healing people what feels like infinitely. The Resolve tree is very strong on Taric, so not going Guardian could potentially hurt you, but whatever you don't bring in your primary page, you can easily just make up for by bringing the 2 most important runes in your secondary page. For your build, you can either start with Relic Shield or Steel Shoulder Guards, it's up to you. From there, on your first buy back, you should be targeting a Tear of the Goddess as well as your level 1 boots. Next, you should look to finish your level 2 boots, typically getting Swifties or maybe even Mobility boots if you're trying to play a heavy roam game. The majority of Taric players will then build their mythic item, a a Locket of Iron Solari. Next core item should be finishing up that tier of the goddess and making it into a Winter's Approach. For your flex items, you should be looking to the enemy team, potentially getting something like a Chemtech Putrefier, an Abyssal Mask, or even a Gargoyle Stoneplate, but really any defensive item can work well on Taric. If the game goes long or you need some more oomph in your build, you can buy an Elixir of Iron, and throughout the whole game, like a good support does, you should be buying control wards and maybe a ward stone if the game goes very late. And finally, here is the full rune page and the skill order you should be going. Let's be real, really any hook support can use Glacial Augment, but Nautilus gets a special place on our list today because in my opinion he is one of the strongest hook supports at using it. Beyond being the only support that can proc Glacial with just his passive, Nautilus bringing this rune is already very popular among the player base. It's pretty much a 60-40 split between people bringing Aftershock and Glacial. If you thought Nautilus was already a crazy pick and teamfight support, this makes him even more nutty. But the only thing that you're really going to be missing is again that tankiness that you could potentially be getting from Aftershock instead. It may seem like overkill to some of you to bring another form of CC for Nautilus, but again, I really encourage you to try it out because you may just end up liking it a lot better. For your build, you should start every game with a Relic Shield. From there, you should be rushing your level 2 boots, more than likely getting something that fits your situation, but most commonly getting something that's defensive. Most Nautilus will then go for their mythic item, most commonly getting a Locket of Iron Solari, but an Even Shroud can work as well. For your third item, while they're not the best, many Nautiluses are either bringing Knight's Vow or Zeke's Convergence next. For your last slot, you should be looking towards the enemy team, either building something like Thornmail, Dead Man's Plate, or a Force of Nature. If the game goes long or you need some more oomph in your build, you can build an Elixir of Iron. And throughout the whole game, like a good support does, you should be buying control wards and maybe a ward stone if the game goes very late. You'll want to quickly drop Anchor here if you want to check out the runes you should bring and also the skill order you should go. Rakan feels like a no-brainer that I definitely should have included in the first video, so thanks commenters for calling me out. Again, like when we just talked about Taric, in my opinion, Guardian is just a poop rune, so having a nice keystone to switch into that works well with Rakan is a savior. While of course he is a great engager, and of course Glacial makes him an even better one, what Rakan struggles at when he brings Guardian is disengaging. It's okay, but with Glacial it makes him a beast at doing disengages. Rakan is designed as a wombo champion, so having Glacial in a team fight makes him an even better one as well. You have an option with your build path as Rakan to either go Everfrost for an even bigger wombo combo or a tankier build, but when we're about to go over the items right now, I'm going to go over the tanky build. For your build, you'll start every game with a Relic Shield. From there, you'll rush your level 2 boots, most typically getting either Plated Steel Caps or Merc Treads. You'll then rush your mythic item, either getting a Locket or an Even Shroud, it's up to you. From there, Rakan's build is situational, either getting something like a Thornmail, a Zhonya's, a Dead Man's Plate, or even a Mikhail's Blessing. If the game goes long or you need some more oomph in your build, you can buy an Elixir of Iron. And throughout the whole game, as a good support does, you should be buying control wards and maybe a ward stone if the game goes very late. And of course, here are the common rooms you should bring, as well as the skill order you should typically go. I'm pretty sure when you guys saw the title of this video, the first thing that came to mind was Janna support. It's no surprise that she makes her way at the top of the list because Glacial Janna has taken over, whether it be in the support role or the top lane. In my defense, Glacial Janna was not a thing when we made the first video. It only really started to come into fruition once she had her mini rework. It's clearly a really strong pick, and when we did our video on Glacial Janna support and we talked to Little Pants, an EUW summoner who's pushing for top 10 right now on the server, he had an over 60% win rate with her. It works so well on Janna because she has the longest normal ability in the game that can proc Glacial, which is pretty easy thanks to the speed boost they gave her Tornado with her buff. And even beyond that, it synergizes really well with her E passive that gives her additional healing and shielding power when she knocks someone up or slows them. Janna was already a beast at peeling, but this makes her even more so thanks to the fact that she can proc it on both her Q, which is again really easy to hit, as well as her ultimate in the middle of a team fight. If you want to learn more about Janna support, I heavily suggest you go check out that video on Little Pants that we did about 2 weeks ago now. For your build, you'll start every game with a Spell Thief's Edge. From there, you should be rushing your level 2 boots, almost always getting Boots of Lucidity. Next, you'll either get your mythic item in Moonstone Renewer or a Chemtech Putrefier depending on the enemy team, and for your third item, whatever you didn't get second, you'll get third. Other items that can work well on Janna depending on the game you're in could be Ardent Censer, Mikhail's Blessing, or a Redemption. If the game goes long or you need some more oomph in your build, you can buy an Elixir of Sorcery, and throughout the whole game, as a good support does, you should be buying control wards and maybe a ward stone if the game goes very late. Take out your cameras one last time because here are the runes as well as skill order you should typically be going as Janna support. Thanks y'all for checking out this video. I hope you found a new champion to try Glacial Augment with. If you did enjoy this video, I heavily suggest you check out last week's video, which was on AP Zeri support. See you guys next time. Peace.